buying fresh fish is a drag. You know what's easier, faster, and cheaper? Canned. Plus, if you're not already in love with canned salmon, you better sit down, because you're about to be. This lemon and herb salmon loaf was one of the most popular recipes from my first book. And for me personally, it was the gateway recipe that got me falling in love with canned salmon, and my family too. To make this recipe, you'll need some eggs, lemon, and onion, a bit of milk, some panko breadcrumbs, and some fresh parsley. And of course, the key ingredient here is canned salmon. I'm gonna start this salmon loaf by just cracking a couple eggs into a bowl. And one of the things I really love about this recipe is that it all comes together in one bowl, and then I just pop it into the oven. So I'll whisk the eggs together with a cup of milk. Now let's talk about canned salmon. So canned salmon, you're just gonna open up the can. If you have a cat, they're gonna be very, very excited. And when you look inside the can, okay, don't be freaked out. When you look inside the can, you're gonna see that there is skin and bones in here. That is great. This is so high in nutrition. And honestly, it's just, I'm gonna mash it all down with a fork and it's just gonna disappear. So I'm gonna drain this and then add this to the bowl. All right, so I'm going to mash up the skin and bones as I add them to the mixture. So just grab out a fork and then I'll add the salmon right in here and kind of crunch it up like this, get it all in there. And then with my fork, I'm actually going to mash the skin, the bones, and everything into the mixture. All right, that's can number one. Let's get can number two. Next up, some panko breadcrumbs. And these are really nice, thick breadcrumbs. So I love to use these. They give a nice fluffiness to the texture of the salmon loaf. You can see how this is starting to thicken up already. That's those breadcrumbs doing their magic work. All right, let's get some flavors in there. I am going to add one yellow onion, but instead of chopping this, I'm actually going to grate it on my cheese grater. This way, the little pieces of onion just really distribute nicely in the salmon loaf, and there's no chunks of onion. Nobody wants chunks of onion in their salmon loaf. So let's grate this onion up. So I'm gonna leave the root end on here and just peel away the skin. I'm gonna use the root end as a bit of a handle. There we go. See, this is now gonna be my handle for holding on to the onion. Grab out my old trusty cheese grater, and then, watching your fingers, just grate the onion. Now, when you're doing this, I'm gonna recommend you kind of go a little bit slowly, because it is easy to get excited when you're grating an onion, and then sometimes you end up grating your fingers. All right, that's about enough. If I grate any further, I'm worried I'm gonna catch my fingers. So I'm gonna thank you for your service, Mr. Onion, and pop the rest of you in the compost bin. Woohoo! Grated onion is usually pretty hard on the eyes. So let's get all of that onion and whatever juice is in there as well right into the mixture. Scrape it all out. All right, take a minute, get your life together, get the onion mixed in. Okay, next up, some freshly chopped parsley. I love using parsley with salmon, and because this is a backpocket dinner, I love using an herb that I usually have on hand. Backpocket dinners are all about meals that you can make from the stuff that you already have on hand. So if you happen to have dill or cilantro or basil on hand, you can feel free to use that instead. I usually have parsley on hand, So that's why I'm using parsley. One of my secrets to not wasting herbs, if you have fresh herbs in the house, is to use them as much as you can. So feel free to double the quantity a recipe calls for and add it to your salads and add it to your egg dishes. I found that the secret to falling in love with canned salmon, which I really used to hate, is using lots of really fresh flavors with it. So fresh parsley, fresh lemon, it makes a big difference to elevating a really humble, inexpensive, canned good pantry staple into something that feels like a really special dinner. Lemon zest is next. This is one of my favorite kitchen tools. It's a microplane zester, and it's great for citrus zest, but it's also great for Parmesan, for chocolate, for fresh nutmeg, and all kinds of different things. Less than 30 bucks. I think every kitchen needs at least one. All right, now I've got the zest. Can't forget about the juice. I only need a couple of tablespoons. 1/2 of a lemon is roughly 2 tablespoons of juice. I'm not even gonna measure it. One final ingredient, salt. Just add that in. And now for the final mix. And I want to get everything really, really nicely combined here. The eggs and the milk, the salmon and the breadcrumbs, the onion, the parsley, the lemon, and the salt. All right, ready for the pan. I'm gonna bake this in an 8x4 loaf pan, and I'm gonna grease it so that the salmon loaf doesn't stick. Drizzle in a little bit of neutral oil like canola, and then I'm just gonna take my little brush and brush all along the inside, especially the edges. Don't forget the edges. Now I'm just gonna transfer this whole mixture right into the pan. All right, smooth it out. Pack it down a little bit just so that it fills the entire loaf pan, but you're not trying to squish it or compress it. You're just trying to make a nice, even loaf shape. Just to get the top nice and browned and a little bit crispy, I'm gonna add a little bit of butter. This is such an old-fashioned thing to do. You often find old-fashioned recipes say, they finish a recipe by saying, dot with butter. And you know what? Salmon loaf is a very old-fashioned recipe, but 1000% good enough for current day. All right, this is gonna go into the oven, 350 degrees for almost an hour. We'll see you when you're on the other side. So this has been in the oven for about an hour, just under an hour, and you can see how the butter melted on top and made it just a little bit golden. The edges are nice and crispy. This is ready to eat. I find the best way to get the salmon loaf out of the pan is to just run a knife around the edges and then use a little serrated knife to make the cuts. The first piece never comes out clean. That's why the first piece is always mine. So check out the first piece and then I'll show you the second piece. Uh-oh. You know, you get all the crispy edge bits, which is the bonus, but it doesn't look that great. Let's try the second piece. All right, piece number 2. Like this recipe? Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. I release new videos every week and you don't want to miss a single one. Now we're talking. Look at that. It is tender. It is packed with lots of beautiful herbs and that lovely grated onion. And can we just talk about this delicious little crispy edge right there? I would serve this either with a big salad or even a hearty vegetable side dish like roasted squash. So there you have it, a true back pocket dinner made quickly and easily with ingredients that you've always got on hand. Delicious, nutritious, satisfying, and it saves you from takeout. If you want some more back pocket dinners, check the description below for a free download of a collection of my favorite back pocket dinners. And the full recipe for this delicious dish is down there below. Life is complicated, cooking shouldn't be. Happy cooking! Check out these other great back pocket dinners. So lemony. Like this video? Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one. I subscribe to my own channel.